So I think we're ready to start this spiral breeding method. Now the end step is getting and incubating the eggs from the chickens, but before that I need to make a different enclosure, and before that I needed to make sure that my chickens were healthy. So my task 2 weeks ago was to get my black Orpingtons and silver Orpingtons out, cut off the dingleberries if needed, check for mites, and then treat for mites. You know, I never thought I would be so well acquainted with my chickens' butts. So today, 2 weeks later, I was able to reevaluate the chickens just to make sure there were no more mites, and I'm really happy with what I found. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth, the curly-haired country gal. Now my dream is to raise 100% of our own food. So that includes chickens, which we're raising for meat, and eggs. Now I want to make a sustainable flock, but that's going to take several steps. Now the end step is getting and incubating the eggs from the chickens, or having some broody hens that can raise them themselves. But before that, I need to make a different enclosure, and before that, I needed to make sure that my chickens were healthy. Now, I knew for a while that my chickens had some mite issues, as well as some gross dingleberries. It sounds like for the larger breeds that I have, the black and silver Orpingtons, that it's more common to have that gross dingleberry poop hanging from their vent, just because they're so big and their down is so thick. They've got so many feathers on their fluff. I just learned the other day that the feathers beneath the vent of a chicken towards their belly is actually called the fluff. So the fluff is just kind of matted with gross poop. And so I knew that I wanted to make sure my chickens were healthy so that we could start breeding and having this self-sustainable flock. So my task 2 weeks ago was to get my black Orpingtons and silver Orpingtons out, cut off the dingleberries if needed, which was needed, check for mites, and then treat for mites. I did go ahead and get and make some Electro-PSP. Now, if you didn't know this, you don't actually have to buy a huge gallon jug for like $120 as of 2022. I was able to find somebody on eBay who just sells little vials of it, I guess, that you can make a gallon batch out of. So that was like $21 maybe. So for me, that was worth it because I used about 6 ounces throughout the whole process. So upon inspection, I had my gloves on and I carefully trimmed the dingleberries and the fluff feathers. Being careful not to nick their skin, and thankfully I didn't nick any skin while I was doing it, but all of them had mites. So I went ahead and sprayed the Electro-PSP. Sometimes I would just watch afterwards just to see if I saw any more movement on the mites or if they died immediately. And it seemed like they just died immediately, which was awesome. The other really encouraging thing is that we have 11 layers right now, and I actually collected 11 eggs the other day. So it's possible that I missed one from the day before, but I think that all of the chickens are laying, including the black Orpingtons and silver Orpingtons. So I think we're ready to start this spiral breeding method. You can check out the video on that where I talk about how there's going to be different clans each with one rooster, and it's just a method to keep the bloodlines clean. And so each year you rotate the roosters from one colored clan to the next. The hens all stay the same. So my setup for my chicken inspection included having this little white fence that we have just around me that I stepped into when I got on the ground to evaluate the chickens, just so that in case they got away from me, they were just within arm's reach and I wouldn't have to chase them around the orchard. And that worked really well. I actually didn't let go of the chickens and accidentally lose any of them, but if I had, that would have been a really nice fail-safe. And then the thing I found that worked really well to inspect my chicken's vents was to go ahead and, since I was on the ground, to just go ahead and put the chicken's head between my legs. And for all but one of them, that seemed to be really pretty soothing for them. I think they understood pretty quickly that I wasn't trying to hurt them, and so they just kind of rested there while I was able to evaluate. And then one by one, I let them go, and they just walked away and did their post-trauma fluff and ran off. But it kind of surprised me. Often they would come back, and they were kind of curious about what was happening to their friends, and they were just curiously watching. One novel thought that I had while inspecting my chickens was, you know, I never thought I would be so well acquainted with my chickens' butts, but here we are. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Thanks so much for watching my video. Hey, if you've learned something or if you enjoyed it, can you just like it down below? Thanks. So today, 2 weeks later, I was able to reevaluate the chickens just to make sure there were no more mites, and I'm really happy with what I found. So I just got the black Orpingtons out, the black and silver Orpingtons out one at a time, and their vents look still a little bit dirtier than I would like. There seems to be a little bit more of a buildup of kind of yucky, nasty poop, but there's no mites, so that's a huge plus. So the next step is going to be to finish making some breeding pen enclosures, where I plan to put one of the black Orpington roosters with 2 of the black Orpington or silver Orpington hens for at least 2 weeks for them to breed, and then go ahead and take the eggs and incubate them, unless I have one of my hens go broody, which I hope I do, and then she can hatch them out herself, but I haven't seen that tendency so far. So feel free to subscribe to the channel down below and hit that notification bell if you're interested in following me with this spiral breeding method process and how it actually plays out. But thanks so much for joining me. Bye.